Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Speaking, a podcast where I delve into topics surrounding life experiences and popular trends while analyzing human behavior. I'm your host, Fifi Hudson. I will be uploading new episodes as the inspiration and creativity strikes. Let's get into it. I'm back. Welcome everybody to the podcast, Simply Speaking. I am your host, Fifi Hudson. It's been quite a while, and I hope everybody listening is doing well. So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about a popular rite of passage, getting one's license. So, I guess I'll jump into my driving experience. So, I finally got my full license about a week ago, and I'm behind all my peers because I got my license in my 20s, so I'm a bit late. Most people might try to go for their license by the time they're 18, but not me. And I would describe myself as an anxious or nervous driver. So when I first started driving, I had a lot of fear, and it was really for no reason. But gradually, I slowly overcome my fears to the point where obviously I can now drive on the highway by myself. So my journey started at 17, my driving journey. I got my license, my first license, what some people might call a learner's permit at 17. So that's like when you take the written test, and you get your first license. So I was already a year behind everybody else because most people get it at 16. And so this is just passing the written tests. And I didn't really start taking lessons until my second year of university. So I was about 19. And I did classes, like in-person classes, where you write and you take exams and stuff. And then I went into driving lessons. So I did all this in the city where my university was, and I was terrified, and I didn't pass because, again, nervous, anxious driver. So my speed was out of control. My turns weren't good. Yeah, everything was rough. So when I got back to my hometown, I tried to book more lessons and attempted, but the test got canceled due to bad weather. It was really rainy, and they just didn't want us driving. I guess it was a safety issue. My hometown compared to the city where my university was at, night and day, like several times larger that city was than my hometown. So the driving test is it's a bit different depending on what city you're in. Smaller town versus big city, you're gonna have like an easier driving test basically. So then after third year, while I was on co-op, I decided to book more lessons, and then I went for my license again, and I actually got it this time. I did my license in a larger city, and I actually got it. I was nervous, I was anxious because I didn't have access to the car, I wasn't with my parents all the time, but I prayed beforehand and everything worked out. And so then at this point, I would drive around the hometown by myself and run to the corner store, run to this store by myself, run different errands, but I was still a nervous driver, and when I make a mistake, I'd get frustrated. So, yeah, I was still pretty nervous, and I didn't really like to drive. I just did it for necessity. And I wanted to go for my full license, and it was expiring, so before I even went for my second part of my license, I had to pay a fee and extend my license because it was expiring, obviously, since the first time I took my written test. You have like a few years period to get your full license, so it was expiring, so I extended it, and then the pandemic happened, and it delayed everything, so I couldn't get my full license. So, yeah, everything was canceled. So once I graduated, we moved back to a major city, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to book a test, and I was like, I don't want to do it in this city. And in the fall of last year, I got a job because I graduated last year, and so I had to start driving to work every day. And so gradually my skills were improving, but I just didn't take the highway because, again, nervous driver. And I was like, I don't have a lot of experience on the highway. The highway's big. I was intimidated. So I just got used to driving to work every day, and I did this for months. So then I decided I need to book my lessons. So I booked them way in advance, and I told my parents, listen, you guys have to go with me on the highway because I'm going for my full license and I need to know how to exit on and off the highway. So I think I went with my mom a couple times. I asked my dad so many times, but he's so busy, so I couldn't pin him down. And yeah, so I was really anxious because my drive test date was coming up, and I was like, I don't have highway experience. So anyway, I was talking to my cousin who has her own cars, and she doesn't have her full license, but she was in the second stage, the same point that I was at. And she was driving around the place, and she just went on the highway, and I was like, okay, I need to do this. I can do this. And so I went with, I think, my mom on the highway one more time. Then finally one day I went to work, and I took the highway by myself, and it was so liberating. I was like, oh, I did it. I did it. And so I just started taking it every single day, and I got used to it. And then, because my lessons were in a different city, 30 minutes away, I started taking the highway there. Because if I didn't take the highway there, it'd take me like almost an hour to get home. So I was like, no. And I got used to it. If I could drive all the way there, I can for sure pass the test. And plus, the highway that the test was going to be on was nowhere near big as the highway that I was using to practice. Because the highway that I was using to practice was like roughly like 4 lanes each way, give or take, depending. But the highway we were going to do the test on was like two lanes either side. I was like thinking about it like, you're being ridiculous. You're being anxious for nothing. And so I took my time, I practiced, I did what I needed to do. Plus, the test was modified because of the pandemic, so they had to get in as many tests as possible. So there's certain parking stuff that I didn't have to do. And I went that day, I prayed, I was so anxious, but I still passed. So I'm saying all this to say that you shouldn't wait too long, you shouldn't delay things, you shouldn't be nervous, you just gotta practice, and you just gotta take your time and start small and work your way up to like the larger stuff. So start with your neighborhood driving, then you go to your major street driving, then you go to like old country road, those kind of highway driving, and then you get to your major like freeway highway driving where you're going like over 100 kilometers or 60 miles per hour, that kind of driving. Just work your way up. So if you don't complete things in your appointed time, so most people, they get their license at 18, 19. If you don't complete it, then there's nothing wrong with that as long as you get it done, because driving at the end of the day is a good skill to have. So some key tips for me, book a school with an instructor. If it's possible for you financially, book a school that does one-on-one training, not having like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. Oh, that's exaggeration, but like 2 other people in the car. Don't do that. Go, or if you can't afford a school, go with an experienced and trusted friend or relative who can really show you how to properly handle the car. Practice makes perfect, so don't rely just on the lessons only. Go and try things out for yourself. So just follow the rules of the road and the laws in your region, and you should be fine. Do not be afraid of the highway or the freeway. You just gotta go with somebody first, and then go with them a few times until you're comfortable, and then try it by yourself. And you can also go at busy times, so early morning, late at night, as long as, again, you're following the laws of the region, because sometimes you might, depending on the restrictions of your first set of license, you might not be able to go to certain places, like, or the highway at certain times of the night. Definitely save your money up and try to get help and try to get extra lessons, again, if it's possible. Empty parking lots of malls and schools are great areas to practice, especially for parking and like your first time driving around. And driving through your neighborhood a lot is key, just so you can become comfortable and familiar with the road. As I said, get on the highway with somebody who's experienced, an instructor or an experienced driver. if it's possible, use your instructor's car for the test. That will help you out a lot, because their cars have to be certified. Instead of using like an old beat up car, their cars are certified, they're safe, so it might be easier for you in the long run. And definitely don't leave things until the last minute. Don't just book your few lessons and not practice at all. Practice. And be confident in yourself and think positively. Because if you think negatively and you tell yourself you're not going to do something, you won't be able to do it. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy. Anyway, so yeah, being upbeat, being positive, and having confidence through practice will definitely help you. And definitely, if you live in a major city, it might be easier to get your license in a slightly smaller neighboring city or town. And then again, once you get your confidence, build yourself up until you're able to drive on the freeways comfortably. And that is my advice for obtaining your license in this rite of passage. And I encourage everybody to get it, because it's a good skill to have, especially when you want certain freedoms, to be able to go to different places and to do different activities with one's friends. Even when you're applying for certain jobs, they want people to have their full license, or else it's hard. If they're doing like field servicing or anything like that, or maintenance and repairs or construction, things of that nature, trades, they want people to have their license for all kinds of different reasons. Or if you're a delivery driver, you're obviously going to need to have your license. So if you need to travel for work, they want you to have your license. So it's important. It's an important skill to have, and you have certain freedoms. You're not restricted in any way. So that's my advice to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little episode. Take care for now. Bye. This ends another episode of Simply Speaking. I'm your host, Fifi Hudson. Thank you all for listening. See you all soon.